This is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
This is AJ Mitchell, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Alex Crusoe, and I'm down to dunk.
It's like baby bottle pop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is Adam Flagler, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Cason Wallace, and I'm down to dunk.
I can't spell Lucas. Hey, how do you spell Lucas? How do you spell Lucas?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Nikola Topic, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Dylan Jones, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Isaiah Joe, and I'm down to dunk.
And there's probably like 50 to 75 Beanie Babies.
Give me like your top 3 Pokemon.
Brother, I can't even name.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
Sometimes the way his brain works is it leaves a lot to be desired.
This is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
Charmander.
Yeah.
Charmander. Or you're more of a Charmeleon guy.
Charmeleon.
This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Schlecht. You know what it
Schlecht?
means? Yeah.
That means like bad.
It means bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, it was a good interview, so it wasn't bad.
J-Dub, year 3, and I'm down to dunk for the 3rd time. Thank you.
All right, welcome to Down to Dunk Wednesday edition, and a very special Wednesday edition because not only is it Christmas Eve, currently 7 a.m. out here on the West Coast on Christmas Eve, but also joining me, Andrew's not here, it's Michele Berra. Michele, how's it going?
Well, it's also not a Wednesday, so you have a gazillion things going sideways.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Here,
I forgot about that as well. Michele, are you cooking up a big piece of meat for Christmas?
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of meat you doing?
I'm trying to do a prime rib, but it's very hard to find the right cut of meat here in Italy because it's not like I ask for that and they give me something that is more of a big chunk of New York strip kind of piece, which is not the. But I will cook it for 24 hours, 57 Celsius, which is, I don't know, 138.
Oh, wow.
35 Fahrenheit.
Okay. That sounds, that'll probably be pretty good, sounds like.
Should be pinky. I don't want it rare. I don't want it medium. It should be like pinky inside, and that's it.
Well, that was very exciting. I went to the store last night and spent way too much on a piece of meat. I thought it was half the price of what it actually ended up being because he rang it up wrong the first time. So I better do a good job because if I don't, I'm going to have a miserable Christmas. But you know who's not going to have a miserable Christmas? The Oklahoma City Thunder, who last night take on the Fighting Wizards of Washington, D.C., and end up beating them by 18 points. Is that right?
Yeah. 123 to 105, I think.
123, 105. It was a game that was very close, literally until the start of the fourth quarter. Tell me if you've heard this before. Thunder did not shoot it very well. Shot at 26% from 3, and as soon as they started hitting some threes, it was a blowout. At the beginning of the fourth quarter, you had threes from Kenrich, AJ Mitchell, who had a really good game, 16 and 12, his first double-double of his career. And then Shea.
Not assists and rebounds.
Yeah,
that's
rebounds, not assists. A lot of defensive rebounds, a lot of long defensive rebounds, watching it back. But by the time Shea had hit that third three in that sequence, it was like the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter, and it was a 15-point game. And the game was basically over. And it was one of those games where if they had been playing any other team, it probably would have been stressful, those first 3 quarters. But because it was the Wizards, you really did feel like, okay, well, they'll eventually turn it on, and this will be a blowout. And that is how it ended up. And so it wasn't really that nerve-wracking of a watch. Were there any big takeaways for you from this game against the Wizards?
Not really. I think that this game, if we want to take it extremely seriously, which is not how OKC took the first 2 quarters defensively, clearly, you can say that when you have a team that is basically just shooting threes and move, shot, kind of attacking like that, OKC is not the best defense to hold that in check. But mainly it was just not being sharp with rotations. And everybody I mean, Shea was late for I think 2 or 3 threes in the first quarter. Then Kaysen, Ludo, everyone was a little bit late, and you can find a team that is hot. Jordan Poole was extremely hot. He made shots that were just not thinkable. But hey, it took OKC just 5 minutes of, hey, we need to do it right now, and they did it. So it was for me, it was more of, oh, come on, let's just not have a stinker right now, and they actually didn't. So it's fine.
Yeah, they literally lock in for 5 minutes and the game's over. Yeah, Jordan Poole had a genuinely great game against the Thunder. Cooked a few OKC defenders a couple times, hit some long threes, hit a logo three at some point. He also had another great one where on a drive on which I think he got fouled, he ends up falling backwards and ends up right below the camera and looks up and sticks his tongue out. Great shot for the game. He was very fun. It was fun watching Bub Carrington because this Wizards team, as everyone knows, the front office is OKC guys, the head coach, former OKC guy. So almost watching them, it kind of takes you back to the tank days and like how are you evaluating this as a Thunder tanking fan back in the day if I was watching this game from Bub Carrington. And it was fun because you see flashes from him that like really do excited. Like he was pretty crafty in the pick and roll in a few instances, had a really nice pass to Valanciunas that was an assist, hit some threes, but then you also see like, yeah, he's still a rookie, like some bad turnovers.
Yeah. But some awful defensive sequences, which, I mean, those were on films in his college year. But yeah, Bob is fun. And I mean, the thing that surprised me the most was he's taller than I expected. I mean, Shea is listed at 6'6". He's legit 6'8". I mean, if Shea is 6'6", then they're at least 2 inches.
Yeah, that's what stuck out to me too. Like his length really does pop on screen. He's obviously not a super big guy. He's still pretty skinny. But yeah, it was fun to watch that team. Obviously, some of their young guys are out last night. We don't get to see Alex Sarr, which is kind of a bummer. We don't get to see Bilal, which is also a bummer.
Yeah.
We did get to see Keyshawn George. And for the Thunder, it feels like this way for a lot of Thunder games where it's like Shea is having his own little game. And then it's what are the rest of the Thunder doing? Like Shea is just so consistent night after night. You don't even have to really worry about it. And last night, he has a great game, 41 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Wow.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it, he was very close to a 5x5.
Yeah.
I mean, not really. 2 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks, but that's pretty good. And 3 threes, 3 of 6 from 3. The only player who really shot well from 3 for the Thunder, and 10 of 10 from the line. So he had just like an incredible game. And if you look at the shot chart, this game was really won in the short mid-range, like the floater range outside of the restricted area, but in the paint. I think they shot over 50% on those shots. Clean the Glass had it at like 17 of 34 in that area. So like in the mid-range, but not right at the rim. That was an interesting way to win this game because, we've seen this team, they have struggled shooting from 3. That happened again tonight. They weren't amazing at the rim last night. I think they shot like 61% at the rim.
Yeah, which is not bad, but not awesome.
Yeah. But they have so many guys who excel in the mid-range and can knock down shots in the mid-range that occasionally you will get games like this where they really did win it in the mid-range, which was kind of entertaining to watch. But yeah, it's the Wizards. They're 4-23. Hasn't been a great run for them, so you don't want to take away too much. Big news, though. Alex Caruso did get hurt in this game.
Yeah.
On a very important possession. This was at the beginning of the fourth quarter when they're kind of blowing it wide open. He gets a steal, dives for the ball, maybe lands on that hip that he aggravated earlier in the season in a game against the Blazers. It was his right hip. He passes it to Shea. Shea, I think it was Shea. Shea gets a bucket. And then after that play, Caruso walks to the locker room. Now he was walking, so I don't think it's like a major injury or anything like that. But you wouldn't be surprised if he's out for a couple games, which is a bummer because they have the Grizzlies coming up on Sunday, which I was really hoping he would be in that game. But who knows? That's still 5 days away.
Yeah, and maybe it's a lot of like let's be cautious and like stop the game right now. You're not needed out there. Maybe it's just a bruise or something like that, where you rest, you stay out a couple of days. But I mean, with Caruso, I think that you can be a little bit more careful. I mean, yes, he's needed in order to give a punch off the bench in terms of defense. He is literally everywhere defensively. I think he is by far right now the most impactful OKC player in terms of defense. I know that Lou Dort and Cason Wallace are excellent point of attack defenders, but Caruso does something that nobody else does. He is an excellent point of attack defender, and he is always playing the passing lane without disrupting the defense. It's not like a gambling on like Poole gets a lot of steal because he jumps the passing lane and leaves guys wide open. This is not how Caruso operates, and he's just he knows where the ball will be a split of a second before, which is something that I think J-Dub is picking up a little bit, which I really like. But yeah, it's a bummer. It's the third injury of the season, which is not great. I'm glad that he's signed for an extension because you need guys like that. But yeah, availability is one of the things for Caruso. So let's hope that against Memphis is good to go. Back on the mid-range thing, I think that Hartenstein is a big reason why OKC has these kind of numbers in the short mid-range, because all of his floaters, I think, qualify in that range.
Yeah, that is probably true. In fact, I'll look it up right now. I'll tell you what he's shooting there. So in the short mid-range, he's shooting 52%, which is in the 87th percentile for bigs. So yes, that is definitely the area where he is excelling. And you saw a couple of those shots last night as well. Yeah. What do you think about? Oh, go ahead.
No, plus some exciting dunks. I mean, he had two one-handed lob catching sequences, which were like just insanely fun. It's incredible. I mean, from 0 lobs to the entire season to like 3, 4, 5 a game. It's unexpected.
I know. It's special. You got to cherish these moments, because who knows? We lived without lobs for a very long time, so you got to enjoy them while you're getting them. What do you think about the starting lineup? Because we knew, or we guessed coming into the season, that Mark was probably going to try a bunch of different combinations. Mm-hmm. I had felt that, man, that Cason starting lineup is really starting to get into a groove. I really like what that starting five offers. But we saw in the Bucks game, the NBA Cup final, he decides to go with Isaiah Joe, which that was apparently because they thought Chris Middleton was playing. He goes with Isaiah Joe again last night. Doesn't have a good game, 1 of 8 from 3. Do you have any strong opinions on the starting lineup? Do you think the Cason starting lineup has been good enough where you feel like they should just stick with it? Or do you think it's still worth exploring adding different options, at least until Chet gets back?
It's fine to do a lot of experiments right now, especially against the Wizards. You can do whatever you want. Mark Daigneault completely changed their rotation pattern in this game for like no obvious reason to me, if not trying something new, which, by the way, worked. So I don't have any particular takes on who starts and who doesn't. I think that the lineup with Isaiah Joe, Hartenstein, Isaiah Joe, Dort, Shea, and Dub should work very well. I'm not sure that this is the way in which I would start games, mostly because I do like the idea of having all the defenders in. It's especially because Cason doesn't take out a lot offensively, especially when you have Shea and Dub on the court. I think that when you have Isaiah Joe on the court, you kind of want to run stuff for him in order to warm him up. Let's put it this way. And it's hard with all those guys in the starting unit. Having Cason out there, which it's a low maintenance guy, you don't have to run stuff for him. So I do think that one of the reasons why I think Isaiah Joe makes a little bit more sense in the Shea-led units, it's because he can have more when Dub is out and when maybe Hartenstein is out. So it may be getting a few shots in a row because you don't have many mouths to feed in that unit. Instead, in the first in the starting lineup. You have a lot. And so the opportunities for Kaysen are not maybe there all the time. This is why I don't like it a lot. And this may be why he's not really getting into a groove when he starts. So yeah, I would go Kaysen right now. If you want to try out Wiggins sometimes, it's fine. I don't think that anybody has an issue with who starts and who closes in this particular team.
And Kaysen had a good game as well. He was, he played 28 minutes, 9, 4 and 4, 2 steals and a block, plus 22 in the game. And I do feel like we're starting to see like more and more this season these offensive flashes from Kaysen.
Yeah.
Like last night, there was a really good drive and kick to AJ Mitchell in the corner for a corner three that I thought was really nice. And I still don't have a great sense of where this is all headed with Kaysen, because kind of going back to what you're saying, like it is kind of hard to find these guys opportunities to really show what they could potentially do offensively. But we do keep seeing these flashes. He's only a second-year player. He is still super young. What are your overall thoughts on Kaysen right now going forward on this team?
It's a tough question. I mean, I don't have. I struggle picturing the future as well. I mean, I'm struggling to picture the future on everything, but on Kaysen especially, because you see him as a very good defender. You can clearly see his progress there. You can also see how he's improving his athleticism. I mean, it's not I think it's not by chance that he's getting more alley-oops, more rebounds, blocks, and whatnot. He is working on his body a lot, so you can see improvements there. Offensively is kind of he's not passive because he's starting to drive more. I struggle to see him being an initiator in general. I mean, the first level initiator. He can be your secondary guy. But yeah, I mean, you want to carve out more space for a guy like this, because his shot is okay. He can dribble okay. He's not maybe again a high level passer, but he can do basically everything else. And I was talking with John Hamm on I think one of the last episode of Thunder After Dark, saying, I mean, OKC has a lot of wings. I think that sooner rather than later, I mean, maybe not this season, but starting next season, they would need to churn a little bit, especially because, I mean, I think that Topic has a case to play in a role that they have right now in AJ Mitchell, but maybe he's better than that. AJ Mitchell is playing extremely well. So when you have like 8-9 guards, wings, it's very hard to keep them all warm for the entire season. Yes, you can circle them out, but I mean, this team is very deep. And so I wonder if Kaysen forces a little bit the hand there. And not that OKC has any issue in terms of moving pieces around. I mean, Wiggins is on a great contract. Isaiah Joe is on a great contract. Lou Dort, which I'm not suggesting OKC should trade him, but he's on a great contract.
We know your history, Michele. Okay?
I know it, but it's the past. It is the past. I assure you. I'm not. I would not trade Lou Dort unless something like crazy happened. But again, I mean, OKC has to really focus on how do we keep Dub, Chet, and Shea on their next contract. So that is the main thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a very long answer to say I think that Kaysen Wallace will need more space in a year or two, and I think OKC should give it to him because he is improving.
Well, if you want more space, at the end of the first quarter in that game against the Wizards, the lineup that Mark put out on the floor: Kaysen, Wiggins, Caruso, Kenrich, and AJ Mitchell. No Dub, no SGA. Yeah. That's probably the lineup if you want some growth from those guys. Like, have at it. That was a surprising lineup. I don't know if they've played that lineup before. Oh, I feel so bad. I didn't bring this up at the beginning. Christmas Miracle. J Will's back. I totally forgot. And not only was J Will back, he got a very nice ovation when he came into the game. And then on like the second offensive play, he gets a pass from Caruso, I believe, and hits a three. Hits a bomb
boom immediately.
A boom. Yeah. Sorry, I forgot. I already forgot. It's been so long since I've seen J Will. Forgot what we call his threes. But yeah, that was his first game of the season, and you know, he didn't play a ton, but he looked, you know, it looked like J Will. It looked fine. And actually, thinking about where he fits defensively, there are guys in the league like Jonas Valanciunas where I do feel like, okay, Jay Will, like this is actually a pretty good matchup for him. It's not someone who's going to like destroy him athletically in some way, and he's big enough to hold up against Valanciunas. And he forced him into a couple tough shots. And then also we got Oos coming back. He played a few minutes in this game as well. First time we've seen him in a month. So they are starting to get some more guys. You mentioned their depth. They are starting to get some non-guards back into the rotation, which will at least give Mark a little bit more to work with, to mix and match some of these combinations. So I don't know how quickly Jay Will's going to get ramped back up, or what his like spot in this rotation will even look like night to night. I don't know if he'll, when he's fully back up to speed, is he going to be a consistent, 10 to 15 minute per night guy, or is it just going to be kind of night to night? How do you think about Jay Will going forward?
I have a pressing question for you before I answer that, because this will shape my answer a little bit. How do you feel about your bold take that Ousmane Dieng will play more than Jay Will right now?
All right. Well, let me first of all, Oos getting hurt. I mean, I was feeling really good. Not that I never wanted it to happen because Jay Will got hurt, but that is how it was happening. And so right now, Oos has only given me a lead of 189 minutes.
Okay.
And actually, Jay Will's already at 8 minutes. So he's only got a 181 minute lead.
Okay.
That Jay Will has to make up. I don't know. What did Jay Will play last year? Which he's not going to play that much. So he played 897 last year.
Yeah.
Now Chet is out. I don't know. I could see him getting like 700 minutes this year,
maybe.
potentially.
I mean, I think that with 500 you can be okay, and it's more than what Dieng will play for the rest of the season.
Yeah, it might be. Actually, yeah, I guess it would be under 700, maybe 500 minutes for Jay Will.
Yeah.
So that means can Oos get like 300 more minutes?
Do you want that to happen?
I mean, for my bold prediction, yes.
But if you suppose that this was my bold prediction, do you want that to happen just as a basketball fan of Ousmane Dieng?
Probably not. But at the same time, like
Who cares?
they do need bigs. They do need wings on this team, and would be nice if Oos developed into a rotation player. Now
it would be very nice. And this is, I mean, jokes aside, I really think that Jay Will has he doesn't have many minutes to go with, because Hartenstein, you can like play him a little bit less because you want to keep him fresh for the postseason. This is actually a very good thing to do. You can ease Chet back in with less of a minute load, and that's fine. But Kenrich is playing very well.
Yeah.
And Ousmane Dieng, probably you want to see him from night to night, see what he can do. Dylan Jones is basically out of the rotation, and he probably will be for the foreseeable future. So how many minutes does he really have going forward? I have no idea. I think that maybe Mark will do this night you play and next night you don't play kind of thing, so that they can give a little bit of let's play Jay Will 15 minutes and maybe no Kenrich tonight. I can't see that happening. But I don't see a big path to minutes. One thing that it could happen is that maybe if some of the guards miss time, you can see lineups with Kenrich and Hartenstein on the court, and maybe Kenrich and Jay Will on the court, which may open up a little bit more in terms of minutes. But as you mentioned, I mean, there was a lineup with AJ Mitchell, Caruso, Kaysen, Wiggins, and Kenrich. I mean, Mark likes those lineups. He wants those lineups on the court. So I really don't know how long Jay Will can stay on the court in terms of total minutes for the season. And in general, what's his role going forward? I mean, you need a third string big, sure. Is he that guy? Possibly. Does he want to be that guy, or like does he want more in terms of minutes? I have no idea. So, but it's good that he can still have a season where with Chet out, he can still prove that he's an NBA player, because I think that many teams could use a guy that can probably shoot it decently well, passing around, and he's vocal. So,
yeah, I was going to say for a team that has struggled offensively this season in a lot of different spots, I think it's easy to question what Jay Will's defensive impact might be game to game. But you could see him maybe earning some minutes over the course of the season, just because he does give their bench a little bit of an offensive boost. You mentioned, we think he's probably can be a solid shooter, but also he just moves the ball really well. I mean, he had 2 assists last night in his 8 minutes. So it is nice to have him back, just to give Mark another option. Kenrich, you mentioned him. He had a good game as well. 8 rebounds, 3 steals, 7 points in the game, plus 19. So no one really, outside of the shooting, it didn't really feel like anyone was having a terrible game other than Lou Dort, but most of those were from 3. He was 0 of 6. Same with Isaiah Joe. Yeah, those 2 guys combined were 1 of 14 in the game. But, Dub didn't have an amazing game, but he had some nice individual plays. He only shot 7 of 18.
He kept them alive in the first quarter, which it's a weird sentence, speaking against about the Wizards, but you know what I meant.
Yeah. Well, listen, this Wizards team, only 4 wins, but they did beat the Nuggets. And so they have at least shown the capability to surprise a decent team.
Okay. I was waiting for that. Thank you. Yeah, decent. Yeah, they are up and down in terms of results, but yeah.
The other injury we didn't mention was there looked like a bad injury to Marvin Bagley III.
Yeah.
A play where Corey Kispert was kind of wrestling with Isaiah Hartenstein, kind of pushes him off. Isaiah Hartenstein falls backwards, falls right into Marvin Bagley's knee. And on the replay, it did not look great. And he looked like he was in a ton of pain on the ground. So that's another injury for them. They've had a bunch of guys out. Any more thoughts about this specific game? We haven't really mentioned AJ Mitchell, who was 6 of 7 from the field. A lot of his damage did feel like it came in that fourth quarter as they started to blow the lead wide open. But any thoughts on his game specifically?
He's having games where you can clearly see that he's a rookie, and that as soon as you tighten up a few screws, he can get into muddy waters. Let's put it this way. But when you play the Wizards, which clearly didn't scout anything about this game, or very little, because they can get to OKC could get to the rim a ton, and it was just, hey, if we hit threes, we win by 50. If we don't, we win by 20. This was kind of the game. He can do damage. He's a really mature player. He makes 90% of his choices correct, which is not an easy thing to do as a point guard. And in general, he has very good touch. You could see him in his first possession. He gets to the hoop, makes a basket, draws a foul, misses the free throw, and then relocates for a corner three, and it looks perfect. It looks smooth. So he's a guy that I can see him being a steady presence on any team off the bench. I don't think that he has the athleticism to be a lead point guard in this league, but off the bench, you can clearly see he's not Theo Maledon. He really has juice in the passing lane. He's tough. When I watched we didn't clearly scout him, me and Andrew, for the draft show, because he was very late in the second round in terms of positioning. But when we look at the films afterwards, and we did like a deep dive on him, the defense was not a sure thing, because he was playing a mid-major. You never know what's the impact of athleticism, and in summer league you could see some possessions where it was kind of running on eggshells. It's like, oh, okay, that is probably why he's not higher. And then right now he is working very hard defensively. He's sliding his feet. He's always moving, always with the right positioning. He's not a defensive stopper, but there are many, many possessions where he just does what he's supposed to do with energy, with intensity, and that's okay. I mean, he's not a traffic cone defensively. He's actually effective. Is he able to stop Giannis? No, nobody is. He's able to stop Dame Lillard? No, he's not that guy. But you can slide him on the second/third option on the other team and trust him to do a nice work, which is a lot for me. So I was really pleased to see the improvement defensively, because that we know a little bit by now about Mark Daigneault's philosophy. Not that we know him, but you can see that if you work on defense, you will get opportunities. And AJ is getting opportunities. Sorry.
That's what's going to make next season so interesting, because we weren't even thinking about AJ Mitchell. Even, when they drafted Topic, we weren't really factoring in AJ Mitchell as like competition for Topic in the future. We probably would have thought it would have been tough for Topic to crack this rotation, even if he was healthy, even if AJ Mitchell wasn't there. But now going into next season, having Topic coming in, and now all of a sudden there's this second-year player who, kind of as you're describing, gives you a pretty good floor in his minutes. Now, Topic theoretically is going to have a higher ceiling. I mean, that's why he was being talked about as a top 5 pick before his injury. So it'll be interesting to see how they balance that, because like you said, I mean, as a rookie, he's already earning these minutes and he's going to further develop. So as a second-year player, if he comes in and he's just super solid, I mean, Topic is really going to have a strong start to his career to see any minutes.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely right, and this will make it tough. Will make it tough on Topic. But again, the good thing is that if he's up for the challenge, then it means something. Which is the same thing about AJ Mitchell right now. I mean, you can be a Theo Maledon and impress on a very bad team, and you struggle. We were talking about Bob Carrington without really knowing how to parse his performance because of the fact that he plays for a very bad team. And so how can you project that in the future? It's hard. I mean, Bob has clearly flashes, and who knows if he can be that impactful on a winning team where the opponents really scout for you every single game, and they want to really put you in a tough spot. AJ is doing that. For Topic, it would be harder, because no matter how the season goes, this team will be out for blood next season. I'm sure of that. And so it will be expectations. And as a rookie, basically, a second-year rookie, a redshirt rookie, I mean, he will have to earn his minutes. And I mean, Mark is still tinkering a bit with the rotations, but not too much. I mean, Ousmane Dieng, it's sparse minutes. Dillon Jones, I mean, I vividly remember the first 5 minutes of AJ Mitchell and Dillon Jones. I think it was like a blowout early in the season, and they got minutes at the end. AJ Mitchell was out there on every single opportunity. Dillon Jones was playing casually. I mean, it's the entire difference between being an NBA player on a winning team and not being ready for that. So I really wonder what's the approach that Topic will have. He is, I mean, I have high expectations because I think that the touch that he has and the physicality that he can have, and he's a brilliant mind in terms of basketball. So it may be Giddey 2.0. I trust his fingertips a little bit more. But I mean, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, even in the case of Giddey 2.0, like if that's what it did end up being, the big difference would be he's not coming into the league as a definite starter. He's going to be in a bench role, and maybe that kind of archetype of player could potentially be very useful for OKC coming off the bench, because as we've seen in some of these bench lineups, it has been the offense that is usually stalled. So if he can give them a little juice off of the bench, even if that does end up being where his career goes, maybe it wouldn't necessarily be a terrible thing for OKC.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I don't know how much truth there was behind. Yeah, we tried to make it work. We tried to ask Josh to start off the bench.
Yeah.
Sorry. but that may work with Topic.
So that was the Wizards game. Before we leave, we're not going to do a super long show today. I did want to give a little historical update for where the Thunder are right now, because they've now moved to 23-5. They've won their last 8 games in a row. Upcoming schedule, they've got the Pacers. They got a really annoying 2 games where they actually have to go to Charlotte on Saturday, play the Hornets, and then turn right back around the next night and play the Grizzlies, which I believe is at home. Which is just an annoying little schedule quirk, because I would rather them be fully rested for that Memphis game. Because I really want them to beat Memphis. Memphis lost to another Western Conference team last night. They played the Clippers and lost at home. So they're now 8-7 against the West, even though they have a very good record overall.
Did you expect Norman Powell to be this good? He is putting up numbies. Wow.
He had 29 against the Grizz, I think.
Yeah.
At least until Kawhi gets back, they desperately need someone to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they have plenty of defensive talent. So he's kind of getting free reign to do whatever Norm Powell wants to do. And it's been working out so far. Okay, but there have been, so I looked on StatHead. In the first 28 games of the season, teams that won 23 or more of their first 28 games. There's been 61 of those teams over the course of NBA history. 21 of them went on to win the championship. So within that group, about a third of them end up going on to win the championship. We have had a few seasons with 2 of these types of teams. They got off to these really hot starts. Obviously, Cleveland being the other team this year. But, you go back to 2021, you had the Warriors and the Suns. The Warriors end up winning the championship that year. Back in 2019, you had the Lakers and the Bucks. Lakers go on to win the championship in the bubble season. If you look at the final records for these teams, the absolute, what would you guess is the worst record that someone who played a full 82 games and won at least 23 of their first 28? What do you think the worst final win total was?
52.
Very close. It was 50, and it was the 2009 Boston Celtics, 2009-2010, who ended up being the Eastern Conference champions. So
I was trying to remember and picture that season.
Yeah, that was a Lakers championship season.
Yeah.
Did the Celtics make it in that season?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I know they made it in 08, and then the Magic were 09, and then I think it was. But yeah, they're entering really historical territory. It'll be interesting to see how much they can keep this up, because obviously the more wins they get, the more this list gets whittled down to fewer and fewer teams.
Yeah.
Now it's not a guarantee of anything, but I think you look at the West right now, and they're clearly in a tier of their own. And then you have that next group, which is the Rockets, Grizzlies, Mavs. Maybe if the Nuggets get their stuff together, could be included in that. And then you just have that big chunk of teams that are all separated by 2 games, like the Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, Spurs, Wolves, Suns, and then Kings kind of on the outside there. But man, they clearly look like they're in a league of their own, at least in the Western Conference. So maybe a conference of their own.
Yeah, they are in a conference of their own. And looking at those numbers, and let's take Boston. I think that there was an injury in that season. It's hard to win 23 of the first 28 games and then win just 27 of the last 60, 54, 54 games, half of the games, if not for a big injury. OKC has that. OKC already has an injury of one of the 3 best players. And granted, you have one of the best replacement that you can possibly think. This is the point. It's not that they got him because Chet was injured. They already got him at the beginning of the season because they felt like they had a need. And I mean, Hartenstein, he's playing absolutely great basketball, and it's worth every single penny that OKC is paying him. But the lineups with Chet Holmgren dismantled the Mavericks last year. They were plus 15 with Chet on the court. And this is how good this team is. They can be, 12 minutes with both Hartenstein and Chet on the court, then being great with Hartenstein as your screen, dive, bruise big with one of the second units, and have Chet in the other one. I mean, this will improve this team. I'm confident that the lineups with
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you can say, yeah, but I don't know how great they can play with both Hartenstein and Chet. Who possibly cares? In 12 minutes with that lineup, they will be great anyway.
Right.
I mean, they may be not awesome with the starting unit. They will be maybe, middle of the pack of good teams. But then when they separate the two, I think they will be great anyway. But even if you are a pessimist on that unit, then you will have this version of the Thunder with Hartenstein for half of the time, and the other one, which was, again, very effective last year with Chet. So I think that I don't want to get too excited here, but I am pretty excited here for what is.
And if you're wondering if an OKC team has ever done this, my son is here. Only the 13-14 Thunder started off this well. That's the only other OKC team to start this way. So my son has fallen.
No,
he is crying, which is a great opportunity to end the podcast. So if you're celebrating Christmas tomorrow, we hope you have a great Christmas with your family. Enjoy the Christmas Day games, which OKC will not be a part of. But they will be back playing the day after the Pacers. Anything else you want to say, Michele?
Maybe Callum is crying because of that, because he cannot watch his dear Thunder on Christmas Day, which it's supposed to be, but it's not. So happy holidays, Merry Christmas to everyone that is listening, live or not, but especially live. A little bit more.
Thanks so much for listening. And we'll be back on Friday, I'm assuming, with a Fry Pod. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.